Hello and a warm welcome to Headlines. Today I'm Zakka Jacob. Israel has kept up its bombardment of Gaza for the 9th day running. After an entire day of ground offensives, explosions lit up the night sky over Gaza as soon as night fell. On Sunday, Israeli soldiers continued to fight in open areas in the launching zones, these very launching zones that were used by Hamas militants to send rockets raining down on southern Israeli cities. Thousands of Israeli troops backed by tanks and helicopter gunships pushed into Gaza. They were fighting militants at close range. Israeli ground troops have surrounded Gaza City from all sides. They're now advancing into the center, right into the heart of Gaza City. The Palestinian Health Ministry says more than 500 Palestinians, mostly civilians, have been killed and 2,500 wounded since the assault began 9 days ago. Half of Gaza's ambulances, too, have been destroyed. The United Nations Security Council has failed to help bring about an immediate ceasefire. Its emergency session in New York. There have been marches, protests, what have you. They're demanding that Israel stop the genocide and end the siege. All right, more than 500 people killed, more than 2,000 injured. What has this 9-day operation achieved? And this, Israel is saying, is just the beginning. Joining us here in our Delhi studios, privileged to have you, Mark Sofer, Israel's ambassador here in India. Thank you very much, sir. At the outset, 500 people killed, 2,000 injured. What has this whole operation achieved?
Well, I think it's crucial to put the 500 in, or the 450 in its correct in the correct context. We are talking here the overwhelming majority, perhaps up to 90%, being the Hamas militants, Hamas operatives, Hamas killers, those who have been responsible for the reign of terror that has been raining down on Israel for the last 6 years.
Since you made a mention of the numbers, almost a quarter of them are women and children. For what fault of theirs have they?
First of all, it is well under a quarter. Our figures, UN figures, are talking maybe 12, 15%, something along those. But
I'm giving you Amnesty International figures. 70 children, 27 women. That's a quarter of the 500 have been killed.
But other figures, UN figures and elsewhere, and even Palestinian figures have talked of 12%. So I think that's not the point, really, because, of course, every single person who is uninvolved in terrorism or uninvolved in warfare is a tragedy. But unfortunately, this war, this conflict, has been thrust upon us. No, we have been living for so many years with almost 250,000 people not being able to be more than 15 seconds away from a bomb shelter.
Let me put this into perspective. The international community, the Palestinian Authority, has been crying hoarse about the violence being disproportionate. The Qasem missiles, which you referred to, before the war began, killed all of one person. In 9 days, you've exterminated 500. Isn't the violence disproportionate?
Well, not at all. In fact, I never actually quite understood this figure mongering. I just was reading about a week ago in the Kargil war that happened in this part of the world, many more Pakistanis were actually killed than Indians. And I wonder whether that actually makes Pakistan correct. And so here also
the point being is that the violence is disproportionate.
No.
You've killed 500 people in 9 days, whereas these Qasem rockets have killed, in a year, one person.
But we are talking not of 500 people, we are talking about the vast majority being those who are responsible for the infrastructure, the reign of terror that has been surrounding Israel for so many years.
But here we are not talking about innocent people. This is a situation, Ambassador. We have been in this situation in 2004, in 2005, in 2006. There have been repeated incursions by Israel. What has it achieved?
Well, it has achieved periods of silence, but now that we came to a truce with the Palestinian Authority, with the Hamas, brokered by the Egyptians. This truce came to an end, not because we wanted it to come to an end.
And no, but who broke the truce?
The truce was broken 100%, even incidentally, by the Hamas. Incidentally, that's not Israel talking. This is the Egyptians talking, this is the Palestinian Authority talking, this is the United Nations talking, this is the European Union talking. They have all said openly, let me just finish, they have all said openly that the people who are responsible for the current round of conflict are the Hamas themselves.
But no, but that's a different issue altogether.
What
are you trying to achieve by this operation? Are you trying to demolish Hamas?
Not at all. Not at all.
What is then
we are trying,
the purpose of this
we have the major purpose that we will not return to the status quo ante, that there will not be a situation in which 250,000 to 300,000 people within southern Israel, because of the whims of a terrorist organization controlling Gaza right now, will force these people to live in constant fear of where the next missile is coming from.
Let me give you the opposing side's numbers. The same Gazans who are now being bombed had suffered an economic blockade imposed by Israel for over a year. 70% of Gazans don't have a job, 80% of them are starving, First they were starved to death, now they're being bombed to death.
Well, this is figures which, of course, I think should be thrown into the dustbin of history.
This is from Transparency International.
No, it's from the Palestinian figures. Let me tell you, though, what the truth is. We came to, when we left Gaza of our own volition, we left in order to reignite a peace process in 2005. In 2006, the Hamas took over in a bloody coup, incidentally, shooting about 150...
No, but the Hamas is an elected... You may think it's a guerrilla army, but they are an elected government.
Being an elected government does not give you the right to use terror and to rain rockets down on a neighbouring country. I wonder what would happen if a Lashkar al-Taiba took over in Pakistan, started raining. Would you say it's and rockets on India? Would you therefore say it's an elected government?
But the point is, they have been democratically elected by the people in the Palestinian Authority.
We have no problem with the Hamas running Gaza. We are not interested in destroying the Hamas. That is not the aim. The aim is quite simple here. The aim is to bring peace and quiet after 6 years. After 6 years of horror, to bring peace and quiet to southern Israel.
Peace and quiet hasn't come to Israel despite the repeated incursions in these last 6 years.
It is true, and we have tried everything. We have tried leaving Gaza. We have tried a diplomatic approach. We have tried economic inducement. And you should know, incidentally, that there was no blockade of Gaza. There was never a blockade of Gaza until they started shooting at us. And that did not exist even in the first place. We started having to use economic punishment after they refused to cease the shooting on innocent Israeli people who were going around their daily lives. And we asked them, through interlocutors, through directly, please don't do this, we will have to respond. A year, we had a truce, a 6-month truce. They abrogated it every day, they shot, they rearmed, they used the truce to rearm.
But the point, Ambassador, is that
they refused to renew
is that most of the time it fell on empty space. But we've done with the disproportionate violence. Where does this operation end?
The operation will end when we have a no return to status quo ante, when we have a new situation on the ground in which...
What is the new situation on the ground?
The new situation on the ground is in which the Hamas will stop entirely and without any horizon different to attack Israeli villages and cities in southern part of Israel. That is the aim.
On the contrary, Ambassador, you realize that you're actually legitimizing the Hamas with this. They now become heroes.
That's your position. I'm not sure that's the case. I think that they have caused havoc and destruction to the Palestinians there. As far as our knowledge is completely different, that they are no longer heroes. They have
but by doing what you're doing, you're actually helping their cause.
We are working for the good of the Israeli people. That is the right, the duty, the obligation of every single government in the world, including the Indian government, including all democratic governments. No country...
So this operation will end when Hamas ceases to exist?
No government, I will answer that one in a second, no government will ever be able to tolerate for 6 or 7 years the raining of missiles on its territory. That is the primary
That's the point you've made. That's the point you've made. So this operation will end when Hamas is destroyed politically and militarily.
And I repeat what I said to that question which you asked as well just a little bit earlier. The operation will cease when there is an agreement, a firm and fast agreement that Hamas or whoever is ruling in Gaza will 100% stop until kingdom come the raining of missiles on a neighboring state, which is all we want right now. Then we can turn ourselves back to the peace process in the Middle East.
What happened with Lebanon then? You wanted to do the same thing with the Hezbollah?
We have had 2.5 years of quiet in Lebanon, and that's not what we had beforehand.
Well,
and I'm not saying...
Let's face it, you had to retreat.
We didn't have to retreat. We will have no intention of staying in Gaza. We left Gaza of our own volition. We have no intention of staying anywhere. All we want is quiet. And I think that's the right and duty of the Israeli government.
Is this an attempt to try and exercise the ghosts of Lebanon and the retreat that you had to face at the hands of the Hezbollah?
And not at all. In fact, I'm a little bit surprised at the question. We are living in a very, very tough neighborhood. We are living in a neighborhood in which we have the Hezbollah in our northern border. We have the Hamas in Gaza. These are supported and trained by the Iranian government with the sole purpose of killing innocent people to achieve extremist political ends. And they will not achieve them, but we have a duty to protect our citizens, and we will do that.
Why was this operation launched now? Wasn't it carefully timed to make sure that there is tacit consent by the United States, because there's a new administration. There's a new administration that's due there in 20 days' time.
Then why didn't we do that last year? Why didn't we do it the year before?
Because, like you said, the truce ended now.
Yes, exactly. We didn't want the truce to end. We begged that the truce would continue. No, but in the 3 days before the truce ended, the Hamas decided they are not going to continue the truce, and they immediately fired 270 rockets on Israel in the last 3 days. We were ready to continue that way.